along to the Auction Tribe, where I'm delighted to be joined by a very well-known face on the auction scene. It's Clive Emson himself of Clive Emson Auctions, and delightful to have you here, Clive.
Lovely to be here. Lovely to be here.
Now, tell us a little bit about the history of the auction house and the areas that you cover.
I used to be in a estate agency, and 25 years ago I came out of agency and did purely auctions, and it was a new idea of giving a facility to estate agents that do not have an auctioneer in-house but have clients that want to sell by auction. And that's 98% of the estate agents in the area. It started in Kent, and it now goes from Essex down to the West Country. And we're the fourth biggest auctioneer in the country.
Fantastic. Now, roughly how many auctions do you have a year?
We have 8 sales a year in 5 different venues, so that's 40 auctions, but over 8 catalogues.
Now, auctions are very interesting because they actually produce a lot of data as well, don't they? And landlords and investors can actually look and see at what lots have sold, what's been unsold. There's lots of goldmine stuff in auctions for landlords and investors, isn't there?
Yes, I mean, auctions used to be a myth that it was all secret and just for dealers buying and selling. And it's so opened up now because the information is out there. And as you say, you can see what's sold and what hasn't sold. Nothing is kept secret. It's very, very open and transparent. Whereas in estate agency and other forms, you're not quite sure whether things sold or what they sold for. With ours, when it's sold, you can see what it's sold for, and it's on the internet immediately as the price.
Fantastic. Could you talk a little bit about the kind of relationship between the investor and the auctioneer? Because you're really there to help and advise and support and be a conduit to helping landlords find what they need within the auction space.
Our main priority is to the seller.
Yep.
But what the auction does is that it brings all the things that an investor would want into one forum. So instead of going through the 20 or 30 agents in every town, in virtually every county, they've got one catalogue and they can see exactly what they want, and they also know it's for sale, because as auctioneers we won't take properties on just to test the market. If we're not sure that the owner is realistic about selling, then we prefer not to touch it, because what the investor wants is to know that when he's seen it in the catalogue, A, it's a realistic value, and B, it is for sale.
Yep.
They're the 2 criteria, because otherwise they can waste an awful lot of their time on chasing the rainbow.
Yeah, quite. Very good point there. I think also, would you say that auctions are kind of like a barometer of what's going on in the property scene? Do you see trends developing there kind of early?
They're a total barometer, because if I sell, we had an auction last week and we sold £18 million worth of properties in 1 week. Quite a good auction. But as the hammer drops, it is the price that it is worth on that day. Now, the other ones where you're getting the statistics coming through, where the big people saying how the market's going, they're 4 or 5 months behind. Because if you agree to buy a house in the open market today, it takes 4 or 5 weeks to exchange a contract, another 4 weeks to complete, another 3 weeks for that to be disseminated out through the... So you're 3 months behind. And a lot can happen in 3 months.
Yeah. And you do publish your auction results so landlords can look and see what's sold and kind of prices and things like that, can't they?
Absolutely, immediately. And they can see where the prices are in relation to the guide prices, which again is a barometer to the market. Because the guide prices we're setting probably 4 weeks before the auction date. And we try to get them as close as we can and realistic as we can. So if the prices are going through the roof, then it's showing the market's rising. Or if we're not selling very much, it's showing there's a bit of a resistance. But what was interesting, when the 3% came in, the stamp duty, the prices were going up more than 3% because investors were trying to beat the stamp duty. Odd, but it worked.
Actually, also, we've been publishing some of the auction results on Property Tribes, and it's interesting to see them post-Brexit because you haven't really experienced any kind of Brexit wobbles, have you?
And no, and I can't think why we would have done, because we weren't selling to the French and the Germans and the Europeans. We were selling to the Russians and the Arabs, and they weren't in the euro. So I didn't really see the correlation between Brexit and the property market, because people buying are not buying with the euro, they're buying with the pound or the dollar.
Indeed, good point.
That could be an interesting one with the dollar.
Just to finish then, you've recently gone quite futuristic in as much as you've signed up to the Bamboo online auction platform.
Yes.
Do you see that as the future of auctions or just another string to your bow kind of thing?
I see it as another opportunity for clients. Where that really helps is if somebody's just missed our catalogue, the closing date for the catalogue, they've got a 4-month wait. And where the online auctions will come in is where they can actually bring the date to suit themselves. There will be other issues where they want the completion date that doesn't necessarily fit within our auction routine. And it also allows us to go all over the country rather than just in the regions where we have offices. So it's another string to the bow. Already we're doing with your catalogues, you can get the catalogue online, you can make bids online, you can view online, you can do the whole thing online. But this is the time scale as much as the perception of online bidding. But it's got to go that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So just to finish, Clive, your number one tip for landlords and investors to get the most out of an auction?
When you get the catalogue, look at the properties that look too expensive, because that's the ones that the other people will ignore. And when you get to the auction, if the owner at the last minute has a wobble and says reduce the reserve, there's no way you're going to get around to all the people to tell them that, because they won't have done their homework. So the cheap ones in the catalogue that look cheap are the ones that everyone's going to go for, and they're the ones that you see go for way over the guide price. And the ones that look too warm are the ones that are going to be where the potential bargain is.
Well, what a fantastic golden nugget there to end on here with Clive Emson, and thank you so much for joining me. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure too. Thank you very much indeed.